has not told us that we were live until maybe a second ago, so I'm gonna roast him for that one. Don't you worry, that's gonna be the theme of the day. My name is Kyon. I'll be your host once again. Two guests will join me this week. To the middle of your screen, the one and only Shiny Hunter Zach, who will probably be prepared. I think at some point, is it overnight or tomorrow at this point for a cast? How are you doing today?
Doing well, yeah. Looking at about 24-ish hours until the endurance race that's going to be Splash Go. Very excited about that. We'll have more on that tournament in a second, but as always, happy to be back on for some Splat Chat.
I feel like this is deja vu for both of us here because it's only been a few weeks. Joining me on the third, the Sunset Surge equivalent to the hype person around. It is Splat Fufu, also 2026 breakout commentator of the year. I'm gonna just note that real quick. How are you doing, Fufu?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. Honestly, coming out from a cast earlier and then coming down to Splat Chat, I think that is the way to do it, especially coming back from vacation. Glad to be here. How you doing, Kyun?
I am doing great. It is a fantastic Friday. I think I admittedly forgot which number Friday it is of the year because that's clearly how this month's been going for me. By the way, we are on the second week. I finally caught up to the program. Why don't we get this show on the road? And for those who are used to our Splat Chat deep analysis, we're gonna loosen things up here to get us started. We have just kicked off the year 2026. I know, surprise. And we have, of course, a lot of big things have happened in the Splatoon landscape. Zach and Fufu, I know you've been briefed on this just before, but I'll give you guys some time to think of a few takes along the way. But for those who are tuning in, we are gonna give ourselves a little bit of a round table, a little bit of a seat segment, if you will. We gotta figure out we got two predictions. Each person in the panel, it will include me, but I'll be going last, of course. Each guest will be sharing their Splatoon predictions for 2026, and of course, we gotta figure out if we agree with it or disagree, and if things get intense, I'm sure they'll be in the hot seat later on. So, well, now that I gave you guys maybe a little bit to think about it, Fufu, you seem to be geared up or smiling a bit, so I'll actually have you go first. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Fufu. But
Right.
do you have one prediction to get? Do you have our very first prediction to kick us off for Splat Chat?
I think this is warm. I think we could end up with another NA League or like another Nintendo event of sorts. I want to see a Nintendo Splatoon event next year, and I think that one's maybe even a little bit cold. I feel like it's definitely possible. But there's my first one. I'm gonna leave it with the first one just for now.
I think Zach, you and I think that might be freezing a little bit here, based on the teasers we have seen in recent times. But I'm still gonna agree with it anyway, out of principle. What are you thinking?
Yeah, of course, got to agree. Jordan Kent, very end of the playoffs for the Splatoon 3 North American League, did say that we would, see everybody back for another iteration. So, I think that will be hopefully coming soon, and would love to see continued growth and from Nintendo to be able to provide us with any sort of tournaments and even win as far as to give us some casual events like the Salmon Run that happened on the Sundays, and even the show that was being put together. Just all of that, getting the community involved and bringing that to such a large stage, that 10 million, I believe, subscriber YouTube channel, just as a starting point. It is so great to see. But yeah, I'll agree with that.
All right, two full agreements with Fufu. First prediction out of the box. Zach, I'm gonna go to you. You got a prediction for us?
Yeah, again,
first round. Go ahead.
Information's so limited about Splatoon Raiders right now. I cannot wait for them to start talking about it more, so I just have a better idea of what the game will actually be. But my take is that there will be some kind of integration with Splatoon 3. That could be as simple as the little news articles that they put out saying, claim you're free, whatever, here. I don't think it'll be anything weapon related unless it's like a skin of an existing weapon, because that would kind of be pay to win to have another game and like get through some milestone in order to get a completely new weapon in Splatoon 3. But I do think there will be some benefit or bonus that you will get in Splatoon 3 if you do buy Splatoon Raider.
You know what? That's actually not the worst prediction I think I have heard. Fufu, your thoughts on that?
I agree with that one. I could see it happening. I can also hear the people that don't have a Splatoon 2 have a Switch 2. There it is. A Switch 2. I mean, going to their friend and be like, hey, here's my account. Can you get me the Splatoon Raider stuff? Please?
I'm pretty sure I will agree with you. I will agree with that take. but it's actually going to piggyback off the next take I was going to have because I did completely remember that Splatoon Raiders is going to be released. I'll let you two roast the host, if you will, for this one, because I was also going to piggyback of what Zach was saying, but I think the predictions here is there will probably, if there were kits, it will probably be similar as the order kits that we saw from before. It will probably be select weapons that will actually get that will get Splatoon Raider weapons. That is my first prediction.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see that. They went with one specific weapon type from each class for side order, and I'd love to see them sort of continue that and get some different weapons. Of course, I love the Tri-Slosher. I got my Tri-Slosher pins recently from Bug Slap. Shout out to him. But would love to see maybe an order Tri-Slosher or even like a Chaos Tri-Slosher, if you will. And to have that extend to all the different weapon classes. I don't know if, as far as agree or disagree, I would like to see it. I'll disagree for the sake of throwing in some variety and say no, they've already done that formula with side order. There's no way they continue it on into Splatoon Raiders.
We gotta have a little controversy along the way. I love it.
I'm in the same boat. I'm on a little bit of a disagree end because we have usually when they drop the DLCs, whatever they give us with the DLCs, that's it. They're good unless they like give little patches and stuff. So I don't think they will do it. See, the real copium you could have said was, "I want hero weapons in Splatoon 3." Then we will call you crazy.
Thankfully, the copium tanks are stuck in the closet today. I'll have to dig it out. I'll have to dig it out here later in the year. But I love it. We're gonna go to a second round here. Fufu, if you got it, Fufu, you got our second prediction here for the second round.
The potential for more third kits is not zero. I feel like this is like reaching very much hopium, and frankly, I'm like half and half on it myself. But I think it's enough to be like, this could happen. I lied. I have the wrong one. I got the wrong take. I want to see another Splatoon concert. Give me another Nintendo. Give me another Splatoon concert, and my life is yours.
You know what? I'll disagree with it. I think I would love to. Again, I'm in the same boat. That was so fun to sort of take pictures of and be a part of. And they put a lot of work into the stage. I think if anything, maybe they bring the stage back to kind of have like this, 1 year ago, we had this, and now for a limited time, you can experience it again. I don't know that they would create like an entirely new area, and if they changed up the performers, I don't know what that would look like, because it included the entire Now or Never 7 in some experience or form or fashion. But I would like to see them make it a yearly thing that we can come back to and relive for a very small amount of time. They already do that with the 4 I guess season related Splatfests, and I'd like to see that continue on with the concerts that we had.
Let me clarify. I meant in person concerts,
in person.
Like the real life concerts. Yeah, like one of those. I need to see it happen again. I don't care if I'm there or not. Just give it to me. Give it to me. I need to hear
bringing
the
it anywhere outside of Japan would be crazy. Like that, just to see like anywhere in North America or even in Europe would be just so fun, but also crazy to see in the Big 26.
If that hopium is true, they would probably announce it in a PAX event, either East or West. Maybe West would be the most realistic. Maybe, but I can only dream on that one. I'm also going to disagree out of principle. I'm joining Zach on this train, even if you're gonna have in person. But if you're gonna have the hopium, wait until August, maybe the week before Riptide. Zach, you got our second prediction.
Oh man, I might be betraying myself a little bit because I'm not sure how likely this is to happen, but Milky Way will not repeat as champion if they're, whenever the next Splatoon 3 North American League happens. There are so many variables that can change. There's not to spoil a future topic, but there's been a lot of changes in terms of the personnel that are playing in the scene. Some of the high level players, will they be sticking around for another big tournament like this one? And there's so much that can happen. If they do participate, I think they're pretty much a lock to make the playoffs. But as we saw with FT Win going down earlier than expected, there is so much that can happen, especially since the sets are either best of 3 or best of 5. So that'll be my hot take. I'm not sure how much I even believe it myself, but Milky Way will not repeat in the next iteration of the North American League.
I will go with you, and it's only because of the form that they had during that particular week? What was the event that they were on a heater for? It was Super Jump, I'm pretty sure, which was like 6 or 7 days before the NA League. They probably got hot at the right time, and as you know in sports and let alone hockey as well, for you, Zach, momentum is a scary thing. So Milky Way would have to capture the exact same magic if such an NA League appears again. So I will agree with that. Fufu, your thoughts?
Ooh, it's hard. Am I allowed to pick neutral? Am I allowed to pick neutral? Because there's just so many variables. It like the NA League was probably the most accessible practice players had, and I think that's why things got a lot tighter as it went on. And I think it definitely depends if players are able to get that sort of practice again without Nintendo's help. I think we could very much shrink the possibilities of Milky Way taking the top going into the next one. I don't know. I'm gonna choose neutral because I don't know. It depends.
Man, if I knew neutral was an option, I would have gone that for every prediction. I love flip flopping. I love being like, well, it depends. You can do this. There's also this,
Fufu has ruined the sanctity of the sports talk circle. I'm gonna be real with you. You had to ruin the sanctity of it, but you know what? I will let it pass just for you, Fufu. I will let it pass. My second prediction, by the way, just for yeah, and I mentioned before, I do agree with that one. My second take, which actually is more of a LAN Championship Series take, because that one's going to be coming up here soon. I think, so if you guys remember last year, that one had very high viewership. I think it was the highest viewership until other events came along to play later in the year. I think they're going to top their other viewership, and I expect every person who represents each LAN to show up for the LCS and root for their respective LAN teams. They're gonna break the viewership numbers, basically. Where my take is.
I mean, I think it's a pretty easy one to agree to, especially with them expanding. I think it's from 8 to 12 in terms of actual LAN participation. So that's 4 more potential regions where maybe they were not either knowing about the event being live streamed or about the event at all. And now they have, LANs in their area, teams, maybe even people that they know that are going to be hopefully participating that make it there and have a shot to take the title. So yeah, I'm going to agree. I think, even with how well it did as sort of the initial stage of these playoffs and getting all these LANs together, I think now that the sort of word is out, I think that viewership number is only going to grow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more as well. It's like the entire LAN scene as a whole has been growing very much. I mean, look at all the posters back here, and this isn't even all of them. I have I think 5 more that I need to hang up still. If that doesn't tell you anything, we've been at it for a while, and of course, as you said, we have the addition of new LANs coming in, so that alone is going to bring more people. The community continues to grow, and so will that viewership. I agree.
I mean, look at all the posters I have back here. Somebody Photoshop in some posters, and we can make it work on the back, and we'll put it in post.
I just have an anime poster and a non-Splatoon poster, so I don't qualify whatsoever for that list. For context, it is so hard for me to take posters home from travel because I pack light as is. So there you go. Yeah, there you go. Oh my goodness, that is a thick list of posters.
Oh my god.
All right,
hold up. How many before we begin the serious things? How many posters do you need to hang up?
5,
We gotta go through this.
6.
I don't know if you have enough room on your wall.
7, 8.
You need to invest in more wall.
10. I have 10. I need to hang up.
Wall
it looks bigger than 10.
Never been higher.
It's bigger than 10 because I have 3 that I'm supposed to give to other people that I haven't seen. I didn't go to Bouya Bay. I'm sorry, Kronos.
You better go to Bouya Bay, but there may be bias towards that statement.
I haven't been able to go to Bouya Bay. I need to go to Bouya Bay. After this one, I'm gonna go again. I swear, I'm gonna go. I gotta go back.
See, you're only hurting my heart, but only for maybe 2 seconds there, Fufu. But 10 posters, you gotta 10 posters, and only some you're supposed to hand out. The poster scene goes wild in LANs. Let's be honest here.
Oh yeah,
everybody goes crazy for them. So, but anyways, those are the predictions for Splat Chat kicking off 2026 in great style. Now we gotta go break the ice a little bit. Now we gotta talk about the big things here coming in. We got Zach, you know how I like to put everybody in the hot seat segment. I think, especially with you remember Lily and Falco being there. I'm gonna put you in the hot seat segment here for this one because we know full well that we got that Splash Go. What was it in 24 hours ish, maybe plus of that one? You're gonna be commenting Splash Go with not the 9 whole grains as well. How are you? How are you feeling about to commentate? What was it? That's a Japanese land if I'm not mistaken as well with an English. Cass, is that
Yes.
correct?
So lots to go over here. I mean, very cool. I was looking on their Twitter the other day. They have these badges that they print for each of the participants. And if I'm understanding it correctly, it basically you can keep it for every subsequent event. So very nice of them to do that. And it brings me back. I love casting with Nine, as I know everyone does. We go back a ways in terms of staying up very, very late casting Japanese-based tournaments. And yeah, I think 24 hours and 10 minutes from now is roughly going to be the start of the event. Very interesting, very fun event. Should be all turf war, best of 3 into best of 5 groups into, I believe, single elimination. So lots to look forward to there. There are tons of guests that are going to be there. I think there's a team that features Igora, Raymaru, and Melon all on the same team, and Robuster the 4th rounding them out. So that is just astonishing to see that kind of talent. And there's going to be something like 95 teams participating. We don't see a ton of focus on turf war in the West. Maybe the Splatoon 3 North American League brought some emphasis in, including turf war as one of the options that had to be played if you played all 5 games in a match, or I mean, even earlier in some cases. But should be a ton of fun, and I think helps to sort of spotlight with an English cast what's going on in the Japanese scene. Because in the last Kion, one of these Splat chats that we did, we talked a lot about, what is there that we can learn from the Japanese scene in order to improve as an entire Western scene.
So I'll be blunt here as well, and Fufu, feel free to chime in if you want to throw more questions at Zach as well. The reason why I also threw in this segment, so I remember, this was before the Nintendo guidelines were out, because there was a Japanese tournament that you have like the occasional FT wins that also participate in, and I was thinking like, what is it? It's not Splat World Series. It was that. You might know what tournament I'm referring to as well, because I usually hear Magic and Nine usually cast that particular event, but now I admittedly heard this. It was 9:30. I'm like, wait, I thought it was like gonna be late into the evening time, but admittedly I checked the time zone conversion, and it's actually 12:30 p.m. Time in around the Japan area. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. I was about to ask the next question. Like, how long will you be up for that one? But it looks like 9:30 ain't too bad, all things considered.
Yeah, projected, I think 5 hours. So it'll take me to around 2:30 in the morning my time. So not terrible. I prefer that. I prefer that to waking up early. Some of them start much earlier, like, okay, maybe get up at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I already have to get up, at or before 8 for my job. So I'm like, anytime I can stay up late, maybe take a nap in the middle of the day, I'll be much more coherent than I am my groggy self in the morning.
You know what? I can't say anything. I can't say the same. I did the same thing.
I was gonna say, I'm looking at you, Fufu, for block 1 of Splat World Series. I remember. Don't you worry. What time was it up for you? When you had to cast the first half of SWS?
I think if you remember, at 4 a.m. I think that's when I woke up to get ready.
Exactly.
I woke up and I was groggy as hell. I was like, dude, how am I supposed to be energetic in the morning? How am I supposed to do this? I'm waking my sister up. I think she was actually awake when I started when I got up, and I was like, oh girl, you're not sleeping tonight. She did not sleep much at all.
So thankfully, this drink here, this is the only closest thing I'm gonna have if I ever had to be up in the morning. Thankfully, there's nothing in here. So just for disclaimer, I cannot drink that. I cannot drink coffee at night. But no, so when I heard the Japanese time frame, Fufu, by the way, you're a trooper for being up that early. Zach, when I heard that, I'm like, wait, isn't it gonna be in the middle of the night for you? Would it be like not as great? But no, 2:30 a.m. and then just conk out entirely. Is gonna be very, very nice, all things considered. But enough of us really as commentators there. Another question for you. How does it feel to be able to cast yet another Japanese event, let alone one where I think interviewing may also be a play in this?
Yeah, lots of reasons to feel very satisfied, very blessed. We have great liaisons, I guess, that are over on the Japanese side that can speak English and can translate for us. I think Pura is going to be helping us out, so helping to get those questions over to, I believe, the winner, and we'll basically be mirroring the Japanese broadcast in the way that they do interviews and everything. So will be great to hear the perspective. We'll try to obviously throw in questions about how much they know about the Western scene or what they think the Western scene can improve on or what they've noticed in terms of differences or similarities with the Western scene. And bridging that gap is so important. There's been videos, I think, documenting why there is such a perceived and true gap between the Japanese scene and the Western scene. And in addition to just the sheer volume or number of people that are playing Splatoon in Japan versus in the West, I think the other side of it is not getting consistent practice with them due to time zone differences. So to have an event that will be streamed, recorded, you can go back to it, you can see how they're doing it, and it's in a mode that is a great casual entry point to the competitive scene. Folks that have only been doing Turf War and want to start getting into competitive, maybe you dip your feet in with a Turf War based tournament and then get into the ranked modes, and you can see compositionally too what works. We saw that in the Splatoon 3 North American League, lots of players swapping over to things like the Reflux, or even other weapons. We saw the Dapples, of course, for Rainmaker is another example of just swaps based on the mode. But to give Western players and hopeful players the opportunity to see how it is on the top end of things, and also from a land perspective, as much as we can get a view of it, what it's like when so many people that have the same passion and commitment to Splatoon that we do get together over on the eastern side of things.
I wanna have another question on top of this. Since it feels like we don't have as many JP casts as maybe it might have been in the past, do you think this would help inspire organizations to bring more Japanese casts to the Western side?
It's a great question, actually. Yeah, and I know Nine, for example, has spoken to and keeps tabs on some of the top commentators that are in the Japanese scene. And so, as one example, he could be a brand ambassador almost to bring some of those casters. And we already have it going one direction, right? We already have it going from the Japanese side to the Western side. I don't see any reason why it can't be brought the reverse way, where we can have tournaments that are taking place on the Western side and bring them over to the Japanese side, especially ones that take place in North America where it's a little bit easier. I think Europe and Japan, they're kind of like on exact opposite sides, so it's very difficult to really make a lot of those happen in terms of time zones. They would probably have to be recorded and looked at later. You might be starting those casts at maybe a midnight or 1 a.m. depending on where in Europe, for example, it's taking place. But yeah, I would love to even just get the questions of what questions do Japanese players have for Western pro players. I know there's already, you can see from tournaments like Breaksax Bank and in the Zone 48 that Japanese players are getting with Western players and competing in tournaments. And I would love to see on the production and cast side, the knowledge sharing and just the curiosity sated on both sides of the equation.
hmm And even in general, like the SWS, when we had the cast on for both sides, I thought that was amazing. And I would even something like Area Cup being brought to an English cast, I think would be amazing. And what you were talking about here, getting more insight on how players on the other side of the world are thinking, I think would be incredibly beneficial, and vice versa. It would be so cool to see come to life.
Yeah, Area Cup, I'm glad you brought that up, has been a huge inspiration, I think, to a lot of Western players or fans of the competitive scene in the West. And a lot of, with it being, I believe, a bi-weekly tournament, they look to the results of a tournament like that to see, okay, what can work? Some of the first I heard about the E-Leader maybe coming back in and being a meta staple for some anchor players in addition to the pencil was from Area Cup and how well it ended up placing on a couple of teams. So to see that come through, if we can have other tournaments that sort of highlight what compositions work. I know Splat Zone's obviously big, Turf War 2 in Japan with a tournament like Splash Go coming up. But just to see, even in the other modes, what they're running is always such a treat to just see what can work if you really build a team around it.
I was gonna ask the same question too. I was gonna actually also chime in and partially ask the same question because I know exactly to what you chimed in for. It would be awesome to see like I'm just making it up here, like a Japanese cast of Super Jump or another big major that's out here in the NA side and EU side. But I know full well that time zones just do not mix at all between the two. It's like you're asking a lot. So I also did this is more of a time less than a question now. I also did run it through the time zone converter in 12 p.m. because I only know Central Time Zone. Sorry, Eastern Time Zone, folks. It would be 3 a.m. basically for those in Japan. It is just asking a lot for those for them basically. It would be a dream for us, but it's gonna be tough regardless for that. But yeah, no, I would love to see one too. Just chiming in on that. Fact. You touched upon the three things that I was gonna highlight here, especially with West and Japan kind of almost in essence merging, but somewhat there with that. You mentioned before in the zone, there's two Japanese teams, the Super Jump 7 winners winning with a pencil as well. There you go. Thank you so much here. That is that is their name right there, right in the very bottom for that one. That is the Japanese pencil, and then we go to that to the ITZ. If we do have the Japanese team in question, that'd be ideal. But it looks like yes, we do. It's Ali, and then there is also there's also the rest. There's Hitokuchi as well with there as well. So looks like there are three other teams with Japan based rosters there as well. And I do remember very much from our discussion a few weeks ago. Falco brought this up in one of our Splat chats that we were together for Zach. There was Kill playing with three specific Japanese players: Rubiton, Kurotab, that's the second player, and then Toto is the fourth player as well from the Japanese roster side. I think, what do you guys make of the fact that we have a lot more players from Japan participating in these tournaments out here in the West?
Honestly, I think this is a really good thing for us, getting practice from places or from people that we are not used to seeing, especially in these high level environments. I think it's great to get that additional practice and also like kind of refresh what we have here. You know, something different never hurts. I think we can learn a lot from them.
Yeah, to Fufu's point, the stagnation, I think, is one big driver of the Western scene. Maybe really a symptom of them scrimming with the same folks over and over again, where they're not able to, whether it's because of time zones, language barrier, etc., make it work to get scrimmages with high-level Japanese teams or even mid-level Japanese teams, because they are very, very talented. And I don't think their participation in Sendo Q is very high, if it exists at all. I know there used to be, if it doesn't still exist, a kind of Sendo Q based system that was Japanese based. That would run kind of occasionally, that might also be useful, but you have to have, either that language or that time zone or both to make it work. And so any tournament, like looking at the results for in the zone 48, to see Ann and Jared's team and then Synapse and Henlo's team finished tied for fifth, not even cracked the top four, shows just the depth and diversity of the talent that's on display. And I want to see more of that. I want to see more tournaments where you look at 28 teams. That's not a super high number. And to see players that have done very, very well, some of whom, Jared even winning the Splatoon 3 North American League, Synapse and Henlo with a good amount of wins and tournament experience under their belt, to not see them cracking the podium is very, very nice, in the sense that it helps inspire that competition and a way for them to keep pushing forward, to look forward to something. It doesn't let them grow sort of like, oh, we've accomplished everything that we want to do. Because again, not to spoil a future topic, but that could lead to burnout and wanting to play the game at a high level less.
Yeah, and we'll definitely touch upon that for sure. Just also chime in there. I actually had to also look at the team that also plays fourth. I actually cannot believe I actually read that team name, because that is a team name called Superstar, which is the pickup. For those trying to read the Japanese team name there for katakana in katakana, for those wondering. But yeah, no, it is kind of crazy as you noted. There was Synapse Henlo's team, and Prosper and JJ actually is also part of that, with the mixture of Hypernova and Free Flow. It looks like there. Yeah. So that's team that pretty much tied for fifth with Jared's team with Hitokuchi there as well. So I was actually kind of amused by that. But yeah, I'm not sure if I was interrupting what you were about to chime in with, Fufu.
I'm gonna be honest, it just pew.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. No,
You're so
I
real
like
for
what
that,
you have to say. Listen, the ADHD brain in this one is strong. It's a poo. Poo.
I'm glad to. I'll keep that in mind for next time. I knew this was gonna happen.
Hey, do not let. I'll find it eventually. I found it. I actually just found it.
Nice.
No, it's gonna. I'll talk about it later because it's gonna spoil future subjects. But see, listen, don't worry about the ADHD brain. If it goes, it'll come back. Most likely, I think
it will find its way back. I got you. I know a few friends who go through that as well. So, but yeah, no. Going back, we in the zones there. Super Jump, of course, with Japanese Pencil. Then still, and then of course, Kyo still winning. Not winning, but be able to place with the other Japanese players. Amazing stuff to see from that group. And we still have a good amount of time here because yes, I know we just talked about it earlier. Splat World Series making a return in 2026. Through a little teaser in the podcast, by the way. That's as much as we knew. Had to throw in the quick little scare there. The last time we were here, the last time we talked about the Splat World Series, Fufu was commentating the first half of SWS at a 4 a.m. Fufu would end up almost playing witness to the calamity that was the Western teams losing immediately right out of the game the first round, which that is just a little bit unfortunate. Will this be the time that a Western team gets a victory over a Japanese team? That's going to be that's what I'm wondering.
They better, Hyun. No, this is a threat. If I am by some chance on that comm set and I see another 4-0, I'm gonna crash out. I'm like, dude, Elliot and Asa do not, work their asses off for y'all to lose. Lock in.
So true. That's so true. It stinks because you can't really do the formatting any other way. Like it doesn't make sense to start like, West versus West and JP versus JP. You kind of have to run it in the first round, JP versus West. But to see the calamity, basically, of what happened last year and just the predictions, how far they went awry from the Splat chat we were on, where we looked at the Splat World Series. I personally don't want to go through that again, let alone everything that the production staff have to go through.
This in a way, and I think even Popgun and Z did not. Popgun and Z, which I believe were the two co-TOs for that one, I don't think they were ready for what is exactly unfolded, or Pandora's box kind of basically opened all in one. Okay, but I'll give them this. This was the first time that they ran a cross collab with what was it, Area Cup, and then some of the events with IPL. Super Jump, I think, had a qualifier for two teams to qualify for the Splat World Series as well. So it's basically everybody's first taste proper for a West versus JP, which I think is the first since. Oh man, I know Vapor reminds me of this one because I was thinking SWC. It might be the Splat World Championship back in the olden days as well. That's probably what I was thinking about. So it's been a while, and I think now that everybody has a great idea about what happened this past year, I have a feeling we might. Every team is probably gonna be will be looking to try to lock in now.
Dude, SWS was such a reality check. That's what it was. It was like, we haven't done this.
Yeah,
in a while.
it was.
Yeah, guys, you're probably close. It'll probably be fine. Maybe have like a Western team up there. So 4-0.
It's a brick wall. Yeah.
It's literally a brick wall. Listen, we had the NA League. We've had time. I am a little bit sad to see some of the tournaments that could have been good practice. I mean, we lost, I think it was Proving Grounds and Squid Junction. So I was kind of sad about losing those because those could have been really good areas of practice, especially after the NA League happened, because I think a lot of people have a lot of motivation or they're retiring, but that's for later. But hopefully this time, the next SWS, we'll see a little bit more progress than what we did last time, please.
Yeah, that's the nice part about the community too, is there's always a lot of, comeback from the TOs and production crew in terms of, we may have tournaments go by the wayside, but then there's always something that comes through to take its place, or it comes back sort of bigger and better than ever. That's one thing that really the Western scene has going for it, is now, especially with, Sendo.Inc. constantly growing, there are more resources than ever, and it is easier than ever, arguably, maybe not even arguably, to get into a tournament, even from ground zero. I experienced that firsthand with R4R, having no competitive experience, no tournament experience, was able to just hop on Sendo.Inc., get right into Sendo Q, get right into a tournament, and it was relatively simple.
You don't have competitive experience?
Oh no, absolutely not.
What?
Yeah, I have not played.
What?
I don't know if I've ever been above S plus. I don't think I've ever been X
Hey,
ranked.
Fufu, I'm
My
joining Zach and this one because my first competitive experience was this past year at Riptide.
Yeah.
We are two late arrivers. Oh no, she.
What?
That's why I'm behind the desk. I can't hack it.
But
on
this
the
is
stick,
why
you know?
we yap. This is why
Exactly.
we yap.
It's like a coaching role,
You're
you know.
telling me.
You're good at sharing the information. You just don't got it, you know. You just don't got the tools.
You're telling me I have more competitive experience than both of y'all fuckers combined.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
fuckers,
easily.
I got ahead of myself.
Easily.
What?
If you've played competitive for like a month, you'd have more experience than me.
Once, like a year and a half, before I was forced into retirement.
Again, spoilers for a future topic, but
Fufu,
Okay, I was forced into
Fufu
retirement
with
because I
the
had
realest.
tendinitis.
Fufu with the realest crash out I think I've ever heard in my life. By the way,
crash out, you know.
Well, no. So Zach's first experience was R4. My first experience was Riptide 2025. There was a few tournaments where I had to participate in prior to make sure that we're warmed up. But yeah, no. Fufu, Fufu. Just we're about to go off the rails here, CKK. I do not care at this point. Fufu, I will go on record here. Riptide 2025 was the first proper like big tournament I think I have participated in, and it took me 2 other tournaments prior to that. I think I was only hovering S plus, but I was one of those silly C junior and V junior mains. So hey, welcome aboard. You have now learned that 2 teams that you have more competitive experience than two of us here combined. How do you feel about this?
I thought I was a bum.
If it makes you feel any better,
No.
I've never played a tournament, period.
there you go. Dude, when I was practicing in Sendo Q, I was like, they need to invent a rank that's below iron for people like me. I don't belong in iron. I belong under the proverbial rank.
Dude,
Zach, Kyon, the CKK. We need to can we get like a new beat video of like having a professional coach like try to build you guys up for a tournament? Can this be an idea? I'm
they can try. I don't know how far they'll get. They can sure try.
I will.
It'd be
Okay,
so fun.
I'll be real. The past Riptide was a great experience. I understand why people just lock in for these tournaments. It was the first time I felt like, okay, now I understand why y'all are into this. I suffer the problem of I have a corporate life, so therefore that is my excuse, and that is my excuse. The 9 to 5 job calls for no one. Calls for no one, basically.
I have a thing that doesn't let me play for more than 2 hours.
You were forced into medical. You were forced into to medical retirement, basically, right?
And I played a set at Riptide while injured. I lost barely, but that's okay. But I played.
Okay,
like,
you know what?
We don't need to include that part.
I got biscuit compliments. I got complimented by biscuit, so who's winning?
There you go.
Okay. I think we should do that. I think we need to drag you guys back into the game. Play set you guys up for a tournament. We're gonna make you guys play low ink. We're gonna do that.
My lack of competitive experience is really getting exposed over these last few weeks. I'm not sure how comfortable I am.
Hey,
we're gonna make you play.
My story also was that when the week before, Popgun had a podcast dedicated to the Riptide predictions, and he saw my name there. Like, what are you doing here? And by the way, if you beat F2N, you're not gonna get low ink banned. Come the days of Riptide, both of us caught up again, and then Popgun literally looked at me and like, you participate in a tournament. What is happening here? And then the real story is that I was able to shoot the free throw in the Riptide pool event, and that got me.
There you go. That's the important things in life. Making the free throws in the Riptide pool. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So that's how I got the competitive edge, and that's why I started getting my first actual hardware experience. Thank you, Riptide, back in 2024 for that. Okay.
So what I'm hearing is you're playing Riptide 2026, and then you're going to play low ink before that because I'm going to force every single one of you guys to play. Too bad. It's gonna happen. CKK, take notes because this is gonna happen. This is gonna be a video. We're gonna do this.
Zach, we are so doomed. Zach.
Come on.
Also, shout out
commentators playing.
Shout out SNS3.
2-player
1 controller. I did technically do a tournament there. 2-player 1 controller. SNS3. The advent, some would say, of 2 players 1 controller.
Anyways, crash right over.
Fufu's crash out, and now Fufu is gonna have the rest of the beep commentators in a coaching session.
Oh, boy.
Maybe later in the summer. Let's put it that way. Maybe I'll be a lot more free
Okay.
back then.
When
Well,
the semester's
we
over,
will.
when the semester's over.
I will get us back. We will get us back. We will talk more about this maybe sometime after the fact, and maybe we'll share more of our lack of comp experience on the road. Where are we headed to as a scene with this direction going
good way.
into the getting to the year? I think Fufu is going to be concerned about about the direction that me and Zach have been going for. But with that focus out of the way, Fufu, we got to look at the competitive scene as a whole now. Coming into this,
Oh, man.
we talked about SWS, we talked about the Japanese merge. How are we feeling after the NA League, Super Jump, and all the Japanese merging has all unfolded? How are we thinking the seed will go?
So I think there's a lot of factors to. It's the future's uncertain. I could say at least that much. I hope we do see a little bit more Japanese involvement into the Western scene, because I think it will definitely spice up what we have so far. I've talked about it a little bit earlier. I think that'll be a great direction to head in. Am I allowed to talk about lands? My focus is usually on the land scene, because that's where I have my little grubby fingers and nails or whatever. Look how long they are. Ooh. Anyways,
Ooh, fancy.
with the land scene growing, I think it's kind of just like you're nurturing a small child, a tree. We're gonna go plant here.
Sure.
You're kind of building it brick by brick. Where am I going? We're building this brick by brick, essentially. And I think we won't see the fruits of land investment until a little bit further down the road, when these players, the small percent of players eventually start heading into the higher calibers of play. But I think with everything we have so far, Nintendo's involvement, more Japanese players coming in, the lands, I think we're going to be seeing a little bit higher numbers going into the year. I want to predict. Well, minus the great big retirement that we're going to talk about.
I think if you guys have tuned into the Splat chat already, you know what the last topic is going to be. But for the I think I'm going to piggyback up the land discussion, because I know the land championship series was a big hit last year, but also I got to give kudos to some of the I call the quote unquote oldies, really the ones that have been around the longest, and I think caused a lot of the big inspiration of the land explosion. I was thinking Soul Kelly from the very get go, and then I think I'm gonna be completely fact checked here by Fufu. I think Sunset Surge might be unofficially the second, maybe the third. I think would probably be the closest I would put on that list. I think Big Dapple was probably there for a while, but probably never got the visibility that it needed until the land scene started to explode. And I think with the rising of like a lot more locals, a lot more lands, even, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to see. I know Denver, Colorado, or specifically the state of Colorado and the state of Arkansas of all locations too, are trying to get some representation into the Splatoon local scene, which honestly is a lot of fun to see. I want to see more lands, especially ones in the Midwest as well, other than Chai Shoals, of course. Upper Midwest for context. So hey, if the land scene keeps going the way it is, with the traction, all the publicity and marketing that it's providing to a lot of the Splatoon scene, I think it's gonna go up really far.
I'm normally not big on Colorado. I know Joan is a fan of the Minnesota Wild. You can relate with not liking the Avalanche, but I'm all for it in terms of growth of the land scene. And I think from Fufu's statements there, the word that I would carry on to is uncertainty. I wouldn't call it a down year, because we've got so many great events, so many tournaments, and we've got Splatoon Raiders on the horizon, but it's a very uncertain year content-wise for the game and for this series. We don't really know yet a ton of what we're getting with Raiders. We don't really know what the future of Splatoon 3 as far as content goes looks like, whether we get any new weapon kits or how many balance updates we have left. They've kind of just set us off with the 4, again, seasonal Splatfests, and then we're kind of expected to fend for ourselves for a little bit. So I'm expecting the scene to really work to keep as many people within the scene as they can, because it always is kind of that bell curve going up and down. When they announce a new game, we get a lot of people back, and then there's the inevitable fall off, and before we get another entry into the series. And so I hope that 2026 continues to be a year of growth, and does not experience too much of a downtrend, in that I want people to foster, I guess, the younger folks that are maybe either just getting in or are still very hungry and very passionate about the game, and maybe move into more of like a coaching role. That's a role that I would love to see also expanded in 2026, is more teams having coaches or staying together as a team and really working toward that sort of upper echelon that teams have cemented themselves in.
Yeah, I
teams
couldn't
that
agree more on that
go ahead.
front. Oh, no,
Yeah, I was also
gonna
gonna chime in as well, adding to the coaching aspect as well, because I think Whip Rays themselves a very well known team. I think I think they had a coach. I think it was Pika as well that started coaching them a lot more recently as well. And then you also have I think it was Whip Rays. I think it was. I could be. I could be. No, I was right. I just had the
you're right.
confusion with. I was having the confusion with Los Inklings for a hot second. I was thinking of a different team. Big Fat Seek House also had, I think, another team as well that took on coaching. I think when you start to see kind of the downturn of the upcoming topic coming up here soon, and then some trying to like maybe sit back as like, all right, maybe what can I also do to help out the scene a little bit better? Maybe we could see a big upsurge in coaches for teams that are trying to establish themselves as well. Instead of maybe less pickups, maybe more teams wanting to stick together for a bit. Maybe even it's a year or two. It's still better than only just picking up for one tournament. That's kind of what my vision is.
Yeah. Well, what I like to say is if you have time to complain, which apparently a lot of people in the community like to do, you have time to help. You have time to help. I'm sorry. Look, listen, I complain a lot. I know I do. But guess what I'm doing? I'm helping run a freaking tournament. I'm helping run a regional. I'm helping run a local. I'm about to start up collegiate stuff in my state. What are you doing? What are you doing to help? So you got time to complain, time to lock in. Help us, because right now Nintendo is barely starting to dip their toes to help us out. Most of what we got left is in our own hands. Like we got to do this shit ourselves.
No kidding. And now we got to start talking about the well, actually, so one of the other things that one of the questions which I think we will probably barely have enough time to get to, but I'll make this quick for y'all before we talk about the big thing. So we know we have 3 tournaments, small sample size, yes. Well, we're gonna note that one real quick. You have In the Zone, Super Jump 7, and Briggs X Bank having a mixture of Western and Japanese players. Will we see a little bit more of an uprise in basically the mixed West and Japanese players basically play together as one team? My thing I'm gonna chime in here real quick while I let you guys think about it too. It's only gonna be difficult. You're talking about the players who are willing to stay up for a tournament to play at that time. I think these will only be focused more on the upper on the more established players that that the Japanese players might recognize, such as again Jared and Kill, for example. So I think we'll still see full Western teams probably win a major. It probably will. I think the hybrid that we saw there might just be a small sample size, if anything.
To your point, I think there's always going to be a small group of very dedicated Japanese players that are, no matter the time, willing to play in some of these Western tournaments, either because they have friends in the Western scene or because they want to experience it. I think if you really want to bridge the gap, there's going to have to be some compromise on both sides for the time and some dedicated staff for the translation aspect of it, because it is going to otherwise be very difficult to consistently bring over and even promote. That's the other side of it that maybe goes unspoken as well, is actually getting the tournament publicly out there, giving it enough time to give it proper promotion and to get both in multiple languages, essentially, as many people and their eyes on it as possible, especially on the Japanese side, for them to be invested. And for the players, it's going to have to either be so competitive and bring such bragging rights that players at the high level they basically are drawn to it. They have to play in it, or the prize or prizes for it is going to have to be so lucrative or so alluring that it's going to draw in people that may not otherwise play at inopportune times, or would have to do something like cancel plans or take off of work or do whatever it takes to play in that event. So something is going to have to give if there is going to be an extended amount of that collaboration.
It reminds me of I think it was Gray playing a tournament and just being like, I'm here to collect my weekly paycheck. I'm here to.
I remember this.
Or like, I'm here to collect my next paycheck. I'll see you next time. But that's literally what it reminds me of. If there's a will, there's a way. If the prizes are what's going to bring people in, then maybe we got to get a couple prizes going. And they've really, God, with how little money we have in here, people sure really like it. I can't even lie.
You know,
I don't blame him.
the that is just reality in a few words right there, Fufu. I think you pretty much described it. I think we are still going to see a full Western team win a major. If we do get to see a lot more incentives, I think we will be seeing a lot more of the mix. To the people who are very dedicated in Japan that want to play in those tournament times, especially too. So keep that in mind. Again, for context, that's 3 a.m. for most tournament start times too for them. So they gotta be up. They gotta be up really early or really late to play. We got to talk now, most importantly, about the thing that I think we kept alluding to throughout the past 50 plus minutes of Splat
Like 5
chat.
times, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think this is good. I think we're gonna expand on this topic a lot. I know the people sending us papers are telling us it's gonna be brief. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be brief. I think we got a lot to talk about here. You might have heard on any social media verse that you're talking about the great retirement. We are going to step down. We are burned out from playing the Splatoon video game. Top level is pretty much walking on in droves. Everything's basically on fire and everything. Here. I'll let you two mull on this real quick because I have something to bring up here. We had a period of time, I think, close to this right around this time last year, where I think there was very scarcely any tournaments that top level probably could participate in. I think it would be like Super Jump, 20XX if Dabbles were to consistently host it as well, and then many other majors like Riptide. It was pretty much at the time few and far between. Look, let's fast forward to a little bit past maybe spring. You got Splat World Series. More Super Jumps are in the horizon. Oh my goodness, the NA League suddenly appeared. The 8-week gauntlet, effectively, that exists, plus playoffs. Now we with all the focus of catering to top level, I would say the pendulum kind of swung the other direction too. It might have been a lot of Splatoon, I think, for the rest of the top level players basically participated in recent times. What do you guys think of my thoughts on that, especially?
Zach, you go first because
all right, I
needed to brew. I needed to brew for a little bit
No, it's
longer.
all right.
I have it almost.
There's so many factors. I mean, it's so difficult to say. On a very high level, there's always going to be some element of players that have been in it for a while or just have grinded the game for so long they just burn out on it. That's the same thing with any hobby, right? It's you put so many hours into it, you put so much emotional investment into it. There is going to be a breaking point. Whether it is a lack of tournaments, like you said, or whether it is they don't feel there's any competition, or they just maybe their friends don't play it anymore. There's lots of reasons why somebody could exit the scene. I think in terms of you look at something like the Splatoon 3 North American League, the ladder format received in different ways. Some people were like, I love the fact that it's over 8 weeks. It gives me multiple opportunities. I can play every week. I have a chance to drop my lowest 3 weeks of participation, and that gives my team an edge if we have an off week or two. And others see just how many hours it takes to participate in the ladder, especially if you're going into top 8. You have the 3 hours of ladder. You basically have an hour of wait time. Then you get into top 8. It's a long day. So the endurance and the mental aspect, that can take a toll. So I can definitely see for teams that participated in the Splatoon 3 North American League, you go through that, which is over multiple months, and you're like, all right, I'm good on this format for a while. I just want to take a little bit of a break before either the next one comes up or before I get into something too drastic. So things like that can have an effect on the multiple different areas. And I see, Kyo, that we have a tweet up from Kyo that kind of exemplifies the namesake of this.
And exactly, it was. I think this tweet that also was one of many in the firestorm. I think there was a team, I think, Zach, that dropped in the middle of the NA League, even though they had a pretty high placement. I forgot that it's not 5. Is it 5?
Was in there, yeah. 5 was
5,
especially in that sort of triangle, that trifecta of very good teams.
Yeah, they were around. They were like pretty close to just contending for most of that. And then I think they just dropped midway. I think kind of alluding to. I think some of it was alluding to the great retirement. I could very well be wrong on those facts there, Zach. But that's kind of what from the posts that I saw. That's kind of what we saw there. So I think there's a lot. I think honestly, it's a lot of factors for Kyo especially too, who's been part of the Splatoon team for quite a while. I'm actually surprised that the guy was still playing, especially too. I think it's a long time for him too. Maybe it was just time for the others, and then for others, maybe like it could just be a break. Honestly, it could just be a break for us, if anything.
Yeah, I want to add on a little bit because it literally was like we have top level maybe not playing as much or having such scarce amounts of tournaments, and then going straight into something like the NA League, playing for genuinely so many hours, and suddenly it's just like, whoa, these are two these are vastly different environments to be in. And listen, I have beef with top level. Like my curiosities happen in like what happens if they go poof? And this is exactly what we're seeing. How will our community be if you remove that top level factors? No one's, you have this small echelon of players that, can only compete against themselves, maybe like 10, 15 people. That's ridiculous. And like for a scene that is, small by competitive standards, but still relatively big, it's like you'd expect that number to be larger. And I think these players retiring, it's a bigger question if these top players are going to look for other talent to try and bring them up, which we haven't really seen much of in the last little while, if I'm being completely honest, or whether other top level players are going to drop out. Which one is going to be healthier for the community? I have no clue.
I'm gonna go real quickly to chime in because I did chime in on this when Popgun had his taking your call segment for the podcast on Mondays. I expect this to be several Philip Rivers moments, basically, where they basically would take a break. This is obviously that Philip Rivers is, for those who know NFL lore, it was a much extreme case, but I'm going to use that logic here. Was they will say they were effectively going to retire and then they'll end up coming back eventually. So I think even Popgun noted it too. Is like I think that's just destined to happen. I think it's exactly your point there though, Fufu. Like you're going from the lull of maybe the closest thing that you have is Super Jump and maybe Ludi DivX if you even qualify for Ludi DivX as well. And it's just like, okay, now we all of a sudden, hey, we got a whole like buffet of options, Super Jump, SWS, even NA League, all of that. It's like it's almost like oh my god, top level players are feasting. And then you go through the gauntlet, like, okay, maybe this could just completely kill the drive for a long while. Maybe they just don't want to see Splatoon ever for a bit before just get themselves away from the game for the most part. That's kind of what my view is. I think it's more of a break rather than a retirement.
I want to chime in again because outside of our majors, how many tournaments in between that are top level really participating in at the same time? We like those higher level tournaments that we had between that are practically non-existent. What we have are weeklies and the occasional, special one-off tournaments or money tournaments that they just register to get the money in. And it's like realistically, where is that good practice? Not only for them, but for high level, for high level players that also want to get there. It was practically not really existing, and I think that also caused a lot of problems in on itself. There's maybe like once a month if you're lucky.
And kind of to continue on one of the points that you made too, I wish there was a greater emphasis on team branding. And when you did have people leave teams, even if they're very well respected teams that have been around for a while, I wish there would be a greater emphasis on keeping that namesake and bringing on new players and having there be some type of consistent branding. I see a lot of tournaments where even at a high level, there are lots of teams that are pickups that don't have a dedicated logo, that don't have a dedicated social media presence, that even if they swap one player, everything about them will change. I really do wish there was a greater emphasis on that team branding and persona, because I think people want somebody to consistently cheer and root for. I talked about that a bit at the Splatoon 3 North American League with FT Win and Moonlight. Those were sort of the fan favorites in a sense because they had the most consistent presence as a team and as individuals. And Moonlight, especially the way they promote themselves on their YouTube channel, and they have the integration with Chara as their coach, who's already, a massive content creator for the Splatoon scene. I do wish there was that greater emphasis so that when we had something like this sort of brief or great retirement, we would fill those with new players and get the spotlight on them automatically by them being part of these teams that have established themselves as being high level.
What's gonna help with that though is branded teams like FT Win, Moonlight, and others having team managers, less about the players managing the teams and more like actual teams managing it. Like I'm just gonna because if you have basically just the Moonlight players managing it, at one point if let's say all 4 players for whatever reason just step away from the game, who's gonna continue on the Moonlight branding at that point? If they it's gonna be someone that they want to hand that brand over to, or one of them has to step up as the team manager and build the next generation of Moonlight, let's say, for that too. And full well people remember Moonlight, they remember FT Win, they remember Starburst, for lack of another strong example. Now Starburst kind of became no longer the Starburst. It now kind of became a mishmash of other different teams. So I think branding is a huge emphasis, especially top level, and how all of us relate to them as a whole. I'm also gonna note anybody from. I'm also gonna jokingly note any members from any members like TZS's Pepe or Fufu or Shiny, for example, from Sunset Surge, especially because I always see the crowds just show up behind them at Riptide. It's like they for some reason y'all in Sunset Surge, you guys have more popular brand than some other top level teams. But it
We're
basically wants the
loud.
point. Like at least it went to a point though. Like people remember like also the Whip Rays or the Los Inklings or Big Fat Sea Cows. Those are more, and those aren't even top level teams as well. Just for context.
Well, even before that, as much as they get memed on, like the esports organizations that took a chance on Splatoon, I think people remember the esports orgs and the teams that they were part of as a result, like Set to Destroy X, the multiple iterations that In Control had, just those organizations even putting their name in the hat kind of gives their team some automatic branding, which if you, Keon, are talking about like the management perspective and players don't want to focus on that or it can change, that is one built-in way. If you can get any investment from an esport organization that's at all reasonably fair, would be cool to see. Again, it's very difficult to get that right, but it's something that I haven't seen in such a long time.
It's dude. This is like such a like what's the word for it? We don't have that many sponsored teams. Like there used to be more sponsored teams out there, and it feels like there's just been there it isn't even it feels there is a decline in those sponsorships. It's just a matter of how are we getting there again. Man, we really need team branding back. It takes a little bit of extra effort, but it really goes a long way. It helps people remember it's exactly as you said. They have someone to cheer for. It makes you more memorable. And I've been through like a couple teams, and we had social media for all of them because we were like, it would be funny, it'd be cute, and we were low level at the time, but people remembered who we were. And I'm like, there was an exhibition match that we did against Whip Rays when I was on a different team than them for like I was on Whip Rays for like a teeny tiny bit. There's a little bit of Fufu lore, but before that I was on Tactic Rulers, and like some people still remember when we were beefing with them back then, and I was like, wow, y'all remember that? That's crazy. And we were low level, so it doesn't matter the level you're at. Make a little bit of presence. It helps with everyone.
There was one team that came to mind, but I don't think it's like a true sponsorship. I remember like the multiple naming iterations of Black Lotus when they were back in their peak. Actually,
Yep,
that's kind of the team that struck out to me. But even then, unfortunately, they had the biggest decline ever since that unfaithful Ludi season most recently too. So it's like you used to hear about Black Lotus, especially with the multiple. I'm guessing that sponsorship or collaborations that they had, but then when the team declined, so did the team as a whole, and then we just never heard back from them again. So it's just like, I think to your point, Zach, branding has gotten more important. Especially people will want to still remember like the Moonlights, even if it's a future generation. People still want to remember FT Win, the team that Kyo and friends built, and whatnot, Starburst as well. So I mean, it means a lot for those that keep going, and I think that's what people still remember them for at the very least. So that's kind of what my thoughts are. Yes.
And like I think like one of the bigger examples of that is also Cherry Limeaze. Those guys were on social media.
For sure.
Like I'm surprised we haven't mentioned them yet. Those guys have social media presence.
I was about to, because I was about to chime in with Shiny at one point with probably making the probably being the next play possibly top level team is top level player, because the thing I was also wanting to bring up as part of the great retirement is who's also going to be the one to step up here, because I think the other thing too, with as you guys know from the greatest Splatoon community, we all think of top level teams such as Moonlight, FT Win, Milky Way, basically any Gray's iteration of PXG, whatever you want to, no matter what you want to name it, or Voil Octave. I remember them from Riptide as well. Like people remember it for those guys, and then when you move them out of the equation, now who's the next one to break through? Do we think the players are the ones that are going to be the one making the step up, or is it the team itself? And that's always the toughest part, is who's going to be the one to step, who's going to be the one to make the next jump into top level. I'm not saying who specifically, but I think people have to start thinking about there's going to be a team that will need to fill in those gaps for top level if they want to keep that sustained.
The last thing we want is there to be no new spots and you just have like a team or two dominating the top. That is honestly the last thing we want, because that makes things boring. That's boring. Yeah. Who wants to be here at this point? Just get the high levels and put them in a tournament together, because we do not want to see the same people win. We want competition. And frankly, the nature of competitive players is we don't want to lose, but you can't complain about there not being competition if you don't help people get up to the top. Make your competition as much as you don't maybe want to. You probably should.
Well, and people love an underdog, right? It's part of why, the Moonlight win over
Moonlight.
FC win was so clutch, but they're hardly ever outside of that scenario. They're not really going to be the underdog in a lot of cases. So you need constant challengers to be able to be pushing for that upper echelon. And so that's where you'll have to, again, the incentive comes through. Some players do have the natural incentive of the only reason I'm playing this much is I want to get better. I want to be the best that I can possibly be, ideally with one team, although a lot of players do join pickups, and I get the nature of that because not everybody is available at the same time. But to see growth and sort of that shakeup within the high level, there has to be opportunities for them to shine, and that constant, pressuring and challenging of the meta to make new things work. And that, again, bring things full circle, seeing Area Cup, for example, come through, love, sort of how different it can be from the Western scene, and maybe seeing if any of those strategies make it over here and allow some of those teams that are pushing for that high level to actually get there.
What I've learned is humans are resistant to change. And I think that is the biggest thing that needs to be gotten over. We can't be resistant to change. If things are going to change at the top, then they're going to change. It's just how it is.
I will echo, if you don't want to see like the same like 3 top level teams, you remove 2, but you only keep the same static 3. There will need to be your team will need to figure out ways to evolve from there. Find another way to break the meta is what I like to say, because we all like to follow the meta because that's the way it mostly wins. But I think if you break the meta, good things will break the meta smartly. I should paraphrase. Not wrong. Like, don't just suddenly bring out like 4 GooTubers and think that it will win. For example, it'll win. I'm putting that disclaimer out there for all of y'all out there. But if you're able to keep up the strategy and know how to play it right, I think then you could potentially see a lot more adoption along the way. Hopefully you don't get yourself figured out by then. But yeah, no, I agree. I think you've got to foster that big competition some way, one way or the other. I do have one last thing I want to bring up with this respective topic. I think this is pretty much I want to just hear you guys' thoughts. So we probably had around like maybe 3 or 5 great retirement thoughts. Do you guys expect like maybe half of them will end up returning back at some point down the year, or maybe even all of them will return back? Or do we think this could be it for maybe 1 or 2, like Kill, just for lack of a better name?
I mean, depends on what you mean. If you mean them coming back as a player, I think
yes.
They may be in a very limited capacity. I don't think many of them will fully come back and say, oh, I made a mistake. I'm fully back. I'm going to go back to the same, I don't know, 8-10 hours of grind maybe that they were doing on some days. I definitely think some of them will be back to play in some tournaments, to play with their friends. And I hope a good amount of them will be back in other capacities, maybe some even moving to a commentary role or to a coaching role, a way that they can, even a content role, taking the experience that they've gotten as a player and retain and continue to foster their love for the game in another capacity besides being a player. There's so many opportunities for them to do so. And I think as part of growing the game, you can't just have players, coming in over and over again. You need to have ways for new people to enter the scene. And with the variety of content that gets brought up and that people that have years of experience can bring, that's very unique. That is such a great way to completely grab somebody that had never heard of the game before, never considered it a competitive game, and put them right into the thick of the competitive scene.
So we need more Charas, basically.
I mean, Charas, but different, right? You don't want to have 100 carbon copies of Chara, but you want to have 100 Chara level YouTube channels that have like the 50, 60, 70,000 subscribers and are constantly pumping out content 3, 5, even days a week, even daily. Like that would be so good for the scene to have that much variety, for people to not get, limited with the content that they produce. It gives them that nice difference in perspective that allows them to form their own opinions and want to build that curiosity to learn more.
Mm-hmm. And I think like a big thing is the hardest part about that is bridging the casual and competitive, because there always seems to be some sort of tension between casual players and competitive players in a way to make I think content in a way that doesn't make competitive seem intimidating for people that maybe haven't tapped into that part of the game yet would be really great, just to get their foot in the door. And I'm gonna look at collegiate, like esports teams. I think that's also another good way. It's just like someone's just like, oh, I play Splatoon, might as well try it, and suddenly they're a competitive player down the line. Anything really is possible, and something to keep in mind is that they may not be the best as they start. None of us were really, when you think about it, but down the line they could be a player you're watching on a major. So we all start somewhere, and it may take a while to see the fruits of that labor, but I think it can pay off in the end.
Yeah,
The
Sam was
biggest-
actually the player that came to mind when you were talking about that. It was not long ago where I was like, I've never heard of this Sam guy before. It just completely came out of the blue, got onto a really strong team, dominated the scene, and now they've already retired. It feels like it's just is gone in a flash.
It's crazy.
And also, you mentioned collegiate. The biggest success story I will still always iterate is Big Fat Sea Cows, which I remember them, I think, as Ink Black back in VCU land way back into season 3 of CCA, which they're already in multiple seasons already. And where are they now? They got low ink banned. They're now hitting the mid level echelon. They've been low ink banned since last year, if I'm not mistaken, too. So they made a lot of progress. So that's always a big success story. And I think, to exactly your point there, Fufu, is that if we can figure out the bridge between casual and competitive down the line, I think that we can get the whole pipeline of players, and I can then ask Popgun if he wants to go back to 200 team low inks again. Again, sometime.
200 team
That's basically what it was too. It was a thing that happened. So
damn, low ink is just our like stat like recorder. It's just like, guys, there's not enough teams in low ink. Hold on, we're declining. Hold on.
But in all seriousness, I would love to see the casual and competitive stuff be bridged down the line, and that, I think, making it a lot more accessible versus trying to be gatekeepy about it. I hate to use that word sometimes, but that is the honest reality at it is being less gatekeepy is gonna be the big thing. I think we covered a lot, as much as we did there, and I know the Great Retirement. I know people are gonna probably be keeping a lot of eyes on whether they will come back in some capacity. And we'll see what it means down the line.
I have one more comment about the Great Retirement. I saw somewhere where someone said if they talk about their retirement, there's a good chance they may just come back. But if they leave quietly, they're really gone.
Whoa.
So there's a good chance these players could return, I want to say.
Very true. Yeah, I could see it as well. I mean, I think people, especially after a tough tournament, or like if they've accomplished something major, they may get that sense of, okay, I've done everything I wanted to do. I can step back and have no regrets. And then they inevitably miss the game. It's if you're still passionate about it, if you still love the game, there's no harm in coming back. And I really do hope that we do see a return of at least one or a couple players, and see if they can, still hack it, or if they were quietly playing the game in the background this whole time.
I still stand by that. I think there will be a couple players that will come back in some capacity. I think I will go on the record that I chalk it up to just the wealth of top level competition that was just around like the last half of the year, which is awesome for them. But I can definitely see it being the slog or the grind or just the crazy run that it has brought to all of us. I will continue to go on the record, Zach, that duck motif is still crazy. I'm just gonna get it.
True. Good
they
answer,
will never
good answer.
retire. I think they will never retire. I think that's all I'm gonna say.
I think they're around forever. I'm with you.
Some people.
I had to see
actually
that in. Much love to duck. By the way, much love to duck motif. The fact that y'all are able to keep that up is amazing.
Yep.
Oh man, I think we covered a lot. I'm not sure if you guys have any last thoughts with all the stuff that we talked about before we wrap it up here.
Support your locals. If you are tired of things not happening in the scene, y'all need to do something. Do something. I do not care. Just even if it's just an idea, do it, because any small thing could lead to anything major. Look at the land scene. We were just like, yeah. Pepe one day was just like, yeah. Arizona could have a land scene. Sure, whatever. I'll make a land. Boom, and it exploded. So make that collegiate team. Make that land. Do whatever you need. Just do it. Go for it.
And support your production crews. Volunteer if you want. Just even if it's data entry or something super menial, anything you can do to help make those tournaments happen basically everybody's a volunteer in the scene. So it's like any time you can put in is so welcome. So even if you're not a high-level player, if you want to contribute, look into production, look into the back end of things. It really is the backbone of the scene in a sense.
Kiln Lord, to help support your thought here, Zach, is I used to be a production person for a small little casual league that is tied to a big
Oh.
name content creator back at once upon a time. Then I kind of became a commentator. People were then asking me, "Hey, you should try to go to the big stages." There were two people I will always shout out, by the way, DRF and Vapor, that got me to CCA first, and then the Vapor, and then basically both of them were like, "Go join. You should go be on SOS for once. People will like you." And then you can guess how 2023 went the rest of the way. Please help support your local production crew if you love Splatoon in any way and want to help shape it up. I know I volunteer for Riptide every freaking year whenever I can because I want to make sure I want to see that Splatoon event be a big success. That's my PSA to y'all as well, even from the host, even from yours truly, from the host. All right, I think we are close to the 90-minute marker here. I think we might want to. I think we're good to call that a wrap. If you guys say,
we got 20 minutes. We got 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes.
No,
What do you mean? You're actually
no.
just stuck here with us. We got 10 minutes.
Thanks, Boo
I
Boo.
said no.
Yo, in some personal purgatory.
I will just to be. I mean, it's also Friday, so I could care less. But also, what else? I would have said, what else we got, Boo? What else we got other than what we? Thank you. By the way, Droid in chat saying Fufu gets it. Thank you, Droid. in the
We love
chat.
Droid.
Thank you, Droid.
I fucked it up. There we go. Yay! Y'all forget we can curse in this house. Like, I'm the only one that cursed here.
Well,
Lock in, guys.
For context, Splatoon commentary got rid of a lot of my cursing, so I still do it.
Yeah.
But it is pretty much in the context of my corporate work. So it happens sometimes.
Say one for us, Kyon. Say one for us. Come on.
The Miranda Cosgrove, like, what's your favorite swear word meme?
What's your favorite curse word, bro? Zach, do you have a favorite curse word? You tell us.
You want me to do the Miranda Cosgrove where they're like, maybe fuck? Like,
that was actually, that would have been my only, that was literally my favorite swear word anyway, so it would have been the same bit anyway. CKK is gonna find us $1 by the end of this show.
Oh, rip! Yeah, you're breaking my bank over here. You're breaking the other Zach's bank.
We're breaking Zach's bank after all these weeks.
Dude, if there was a swear jar, like when I'm off the mic, I curse like a sailor. It would be full. God forbid the day that I'm allowed to curse on the cast because
that's what couch casts are for. It's for getting the true emotion, the true you out there.
You know what? You're not wrong on that one, Zach. You're definitely
I've
not
yet to
wrong.
do a couch comm. I don't think I've done couch commentary yet, so it's been like 2 years. I gotta get
I
on
have-
that.
I have watched way too many professional sports commentary from like big names from the NBA scene that at this point I cannot actually I cannot take myself unseriously. It would have been too professionals. Like I would have been
I'm in the
I would
same
have been the
boat.
worst. Yeah,
I can't even lie,
both.
same. It's like it start off couch and then it'll develop into like the actual comms and
Like
it's just
locking back in. Yeah.
there's like a steady progression back to the lock-in. Dude, I'm cooked. Like you start in the Splatoon side of things where it's just like, yes, everyone, prim proper, you cannot curse, you gotta lock in, commentate this way. And you're like, yes, sir. And then you're fucked.
Too used to it at this point. We're locked in.
Yeah.
We were just doing this all for our craft, and at this point, it's just like, nope. I'm sure there will be no swear words coming. I'm pretty sure I'm doomed to say one by mistake at some point down the road.
Oh man.
Thank you both. I think. Fufu, what do you want to plug before we get out of here?
Go to Sunset Surge, go to your local, support your locals, support your local scene, period. Whether it's collegiate, whether it's your local, whether it's your regional, doesn't matter. Go. I do not care if you are like an hour away. If you can go, let me be clear. If you can go support your locals. Also, you guys can find me at Splat on Blue Sky.
An important question: Does the LCS qualify? Has the LCS qualifier been announced for Sunset Surge yet, or is that a big old TBD? Wait for the announcement.
You're gonna have to wait for the announcement. It may come sooner than you think. Who knows?
Keep an eye on that for those paying attention to Sunset Surge. I'm also writing that on my notes for at some point down the road too. Zach, where can the people find you? And anything else you want to plug?
Splash Go again, now less than 24 hours away. IPL is helping to put on the English broadcast of Splash Go. I think it's 12, the Japanese LAN turf war based event. So go check that out tomorrow evening. I'm also on Blue Sky at shinyhunterzach, so you can go check that out. And yeah, always a pleasure to be back on Splat Chat.
And for those wondering, and the host is truly, you can find me on Kion2570 on Blue Sky. The big reveal for the LAN is I am going to Bouya Bay next month to go check out that experience. I went to Sea Battle back in the Halloween weekend because everything kind of worked out, and next month it happened to work out for Bouya Bay. So first time in NorCal in however years long. So I'll be seeing what Rice and. Well, I'm going to be seeing what Rice and the others are cooking up over there, especially with this being their LCS qualifier as well. Also, I'm going to try to make it a deal to try to travel to as many locals as I can that is within budget reason. So let me see if I can pull that off as well throughout the year. CKK, who is probably going to be fighting. What's up?
You're coming down to AZ. Also, before
Maybe.
CKK, speaking of lands, go to Don't Flounder at the function in North Carolina next week. It's on the 17th. I gotta make that comment real quick. Sorry to interrupt. Okay, CKK, go.
No, you're good. You're good. CKK, our producer here, will probably be finding us $1.50 later for this cast. But I think it is well worth paying that out of pocket for ourselves. This is, I think, either the first or the second. I think this is the first Splat Chat of 2026. You'll be hearing more from our sort of guests, but with Zach, Fufu, and our producer CKK. My name is Kion, saying have yourselves a good rest of your weekend. Tune in for more Splat Chat, maybe in a future time, maybe next week. Until then, see you guys.